freak out.
Yeah, it seems to be more lawsuits coming out, men and women now. It just gets crazy and crazy.
What I say? They gonna put that Tootsie on it and let the good times roll, baby.
Yeah,
You got Ashton Kutcher in love with Mila Kunis on that 70s show. Then they break up for absolutely no reason after he starts hanging out with Diddy. Then he marries Demi Moore. You drained him of all the adrenochrome she can, and apparently he replenished himself by doing inappropriate things with her daughters. It had multiple stars in it. Nicki Minaj, Rihanna, Chris Brown, Justin Bieber, Drake. It was a really interesting night in Calabasas. Me, real rap.
You think that audio that they put out was real?
Yeah, that was him. Because if he can be a predator, then anybody can be a predator.
you smile on your face the whole time.
You feel what I'm saying? Like, people look at Usher, they don't see that. And I'm going to say this about you now, baby. Everybody who knows you are dumb as a sack of hair. Truth is, if it wasn't for your singing and your dancing, you would have never been anything more.
The curtain pulls back on a world most of us will never step into, but Jaguar Wright claims she's been there, close enough to smell the champagne and hear the whispers. According to her, Diddy's infamous freak-off parties weren't just flashy events filled with celebrities and music, they were carefully staged carnivals of excess. She insists these nights could make or break reputations, and in some cases, even put lives at risk.
Beyonce
What's going
is
on?
losing hundreds of thousands, millions of followers every day. And she still hasn't said anything. Just pretending like life is great in Paris.
One point, I went to Philly, followed him over to Philly. He threw a party, and he said, "Yo, Playboy, this party costs $1.5 million to throw." I'm like, "You are out of your mind." And I said, "Puff, I'll throw you a party for $400.
So what are your thoughts on all the celebrities and celebrity friends that denounced those allegations and were like, this is false, and they were
Liars.
saying, yeah, should they speak up now?
It's getting a little too late for those who are complicit.
2020, y'all. And it's different than when it was 2016. The game has been elevated. As you can tell, there's no expense being spared. We had a black billionaire. Very good. Oh, you put that thing on the wall. See how we do it here on Saturday. This is what it's See how we do it here on Saturday. This is what it's
Now picture the scene. Private jets landing in places like the Hamptons, Miami, or LA, with the biggest names in music stepping out in designer suits and glittering gowns. They'd head straight to massive mansions where the real action happened behind closed doors. Wright describes living rooms set up like movie sets, champagne towers taller than the guests, and hidden corners where cameras quietly rolled. To the public, it looked glamorous. But to insiders, she says, it was nothing less than a trap. She revealed that the things she experienced with Diddy were monstrous, claiming they nearly destroyed her life, and it didn't stop there. Wright alleged that these parties weren't just about indulgence. They became hubs where life-changing infections were spread, leaving stars unknowingly, or maybe knowingly, caught in the crossfire. One minute, people were clinking glasses over million-dollar deals, and the next, they were tangled in secrets that could haunt them forever. She argued it wasn't just physical harm, it was psychological warfare. The entire setup, she said, felt like blackmail theater.
If Bishop Jakes was at a Diddy party, there could only be two reasons. Money or That's all that happens at Diddy parties. I hope it was for money, because arguing about who's going to put the strap on is, that can be a very uncomfortable situation. We won't pray on it, praise the Lord.
According to Wright, anyone caught on those freak-off tapes lived in fear. She said stars who ever played a part in those sessions didn't want the truth coming out because it could destroy their brand. And here's where it gets even more shocking. She accused Usher of allegedly sacrificing Justin Bieber by pulling him into the same world of temptation and manipulation. Wright made it clear this wasn't about ritual flames or anything mystical. She described it as innocence being traded away, opportunities exchanged just to survive. Usher, who once had his own mentorship under the same system, was accused of continuing the cycle, guiding Bieber into Diddy's orbit, a place Wright says thrived on control and corruption.
Because I think if a victim comes out against Usher, it'll show how egregious this is. is. Because if he can be a predator, then anybody can be a predator.
Smile in your face the whole time.
You feel what I'm saying? Like, people look at Usher, they don't see that. They're not seeing the victim. They're not seeing that boy that got rushed to the hospital. They're not seeing what the intentions was in his heart when he took Justin Bieber there. Let's be honest. He took Justin Bieber there. Diddy had been trying to get to Bieber for a minute. And his management was backing him on. But it wasn't until Usher took over management and had guardianship and gave temporary guardianship to the Diddy for $48. Think about that.
Think about it. We all remember Bieber as that fresh-faced teen singing about first loves, but Wright painted him as nothing more than a pawn in a much older, darker game. In her words, mentorship in the music industry wasn't always about growth. It could also mean being offered up to keep the empire steady.
You know, Diddy bought his son a Bentley. Maybe, you know, he can buy you.
Got me a Lamborghini.
Oh, well, that's nice.
I haven't gotten it yet, though.
Yeah, I know. When is that coming, that Lamborghini? We talked about this last
He had
time.
the Lamborghini for a day or two, and he had access to the house, and he knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television.
Everything ain't for everybody.
And at the heart of it all, the so-called blackmail vault. Wright insisted that Diddy didn't just build his empire on hit songs, business ventures, and flashy branding. He built it on secrets. Secrets captured on tapes, confessions whispered in vulnerable moments, files that could be weaponized if anyone dared step out of line. This claim echoed Cassie Ventura's testimony in her trial, where she admitted tapes existed and even confessed that the fear of those videos leaking kept her in check. Wright expanded on that idea, hinting it wasn't just Cassie, but countless stars who found themselves trapped in compromising positions, their careers forever hanging in the balance.
The exchange in text between the two of them. So you're the lawyer representing Diddy. They show the text of her saying, "Can't wait for the next free call."
That's what she said.
That's what she said to him.
At one point, Wright broke down, saying that people don't understand the toll this takes. She described the feeling of having something you love ripped away, discarded like it never mattered, while everyone else moves on. She admitted that even decades later, 21 years to be exact, she still felt stuck in that pain, unable to escape the shadow of what she endured.
He did that to me.
He said, nah, shut up, bro. He actually said, take that to you.
To Cassie, I was like, you know, not me. What the hell could I be taking? I'm smashing her out. And he's like, yeah. Would you like that? Yeah, take that. I broke out laughing in the middle of the free call. And she started laughing too. He smiled a little bit. He let us laugh it out for a couple of seconds, and he was like, all right, get back to it.
Yo, Art, you know what's crazy, man? Like, and I know I'm
Jaguar Wright didn't hold back when she started pointing to the names of those who, in her view, became casualties of Diddy's empire. She singled out Craig Mack as one of the first, a rising talent who seemed to vanish right when his career was peaking. While the public thought he simply faded into obscurity, Wright suggested his downfall wasn't natural at all. It was engineered, the price for crossing a system built on silence. And she didn't stop there. She tied whispers about other big names, Aaliyah, Left Eye, even Michael Jackson, into the same dark circles. The theories only grew louder online when TikTok users noticed an eerie detail. 3 major stars, all gone on the 25th of different months, all connected in some way to the worlds where Diddy, Jay-Z, and Beyonce loomed largest.
And I'm going to say this about you now, but everybody who knows you are dumb as a sack of hair. Truth is, if it wasn't for your singing and your dancing, you would have never been anything more than a shampoo girl in your mother's shop. And as long as she gets to be the prettiest, and as long as she gets to be the number one, she don't care what nobody do, how they do it. She knew what her father, Matthew Knowles, was doing with all of those other girls in Destiny's Child. She's a whole space cadet. Beyonce is losing hundreds of thousands, millions of followers every day. And she still hasn't said anything. Just pretending like life is great in Paris.
Is it her place to say something?
I mean, probably not, considering she's going to be indicted for anything she would say. These are criminals. Diddy is a dealer, and so is Jay-Z. The proof is there.
When asked about this so-called beef, Wright brushed it off, saying it wasn't really beef, just competitiveness. But the focus quickly shifted to Jay-Z, and that's when things really heated up. His name, she pointed out, keeps slipping into the narrative. Here's a man who was once celebrated for flipping his hustler past into a billion-dollar empire, but now he finds himself under a different kind of spotlight.
Last time, and Piers Morgan said it, they're not here to defend themselves. Do you think the Carters will speak about any of this? About
Beyonce
what's going
is
on?
losing hundreds of thousands, millions of followers every day. And she still hasn't said anything. Just pretending like life is great in Paris.
Is it her place to say something?
I mean, probably not, considering she's going to be indicted for anything she was saying. These are criminals. Diddy is a dealer, and so is Jay-Z. The proof is there. How many people does he have to be around before people see him for who he is?
It seems like these artists are trying to run away from their past. Diddy changed his name multiple times to say, that's not me, I'm trying to move beyond Diddy, I'm Love now.
What kind of love? Baby oil love? Baby love? Explicit love, hey!
50 Cent even mocked him online, taunting him about his loyalty to Diddy despite the mogul drowning in legal troubles. Wright, too, zeroed in on Jay-Z's silence, saying that his refusal to address anything only fuels more suspicion.
I'm not looking at go, how I should be going. So you image yourself after a gay painter. Big homie want to look like a gay painter.
What are we talking about?
I'm talking about Basquiat. He wants to look like a gay painter.
Then came her harshest words yet. She didn't mince them either. Wright flat out said Sean Carter was guilty, not allegedly, but guilty. She accused him of stripping away the power of real gangsters in Houston while standing side by side with Diddy's empire.
Dad, I know I promised you I'm gonna give you my first Grammy. You have to fight for this one.
She said, want to thank everybody for her first Grammy.
Anyway, I'd like to thank Jay-Z for being a part of this record with me.
We'd like to thank Jigga Man for being the greatest in the world.
Your Tricky Dream for writing such a beautiful record. Thank you.
And Beyonce, she wasn't spared either. On TikTok, millions of views piled up on videos claiming that she and Jay-Z weren't just allies, but possible co-conspirators in some of music history's darkest chapters. The so-called evidence, award show moments where stars like Adele or Lizzo paused their own speeches just to shower Beyonce with praise. To some, it looked like admiration. To others, it felt like allegiance, as if praising the Carters was the unspoken price of staying safe in the industry.
Like Kim Burrell said that Jay-Z called her and asked her to come and minister to his wife, who was locked in a room for 12 hours, listening to Kim Burrell record, rocking back and forth and shit. I guess she's trying to break the spell. I don't know.
Fans even dug into J. Cole's song, She Knows, twisting the title into Sean and Knowles, stacking coincidences that conspiracy lovers couldn't ignore. Wright herself called Jay-Z and Beyonce a nasty little couple, claiming she personally knew people willing to testify against them. And once she compared their alleged behavior to what happened with Aaliyah, speculation exploded even further.
I want you to think about this. Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane, to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyonce, who was struggling. Let's just say allegedly that happened.
What made all of this hit harder was how the rumors seemed to line up with courtroom details. Cassie's testimony described freak-off parties that stretched on for days, filled with substances and strangers, orchestrated like some twisted theater. She said she was coerced, blackmailed with footage, and treated more like property than a partner.
It has a lot to do with your presence at a label, at the label that you're at, and, you know, how well you're respected with the people that you're working with. And I put out a lot of...
She was literally on the stand and said, I wanted to do them because I didn't want him to do them with anybody else. She said in the text message, I'm always ready for a freak off. And it's like, instead of taking her words at face value, women are like, actually, she was groomed.
Federal prosecutors even accused Diddy of running his record label like a criminal enterprise, using his resources and staff to fuel his private desires. Suddenly, Wright's accusations didn't sound like wild theories anymore. If Cassie's words matched pieces of what Wright was saying, then maybe, just maybe, these weren't coincidences at all. Maybe they were fragments of a much bigger puzzle that no one in the industry dares to finish.
The last freak off tape that just got sold on the dark net, which I know because I monitor, went for $500 million. It had multiple stars in it. Nicki Minaj, Rihanna, Chris Brown, Justin Bieber, Drake. It was a really interesting night in Calabasas.
Wright pushed it further, claiming there were people who made millions through short sales on their stocks after certain events, pointing her finger directly at Sean Carter. Then she asked the question that left people speechless. Why would anyone need non-disclosure agreements for something labeled an accident? Even Damon Dash, once Jay-Z's close ally and Aaliyah's former partner, has spoken out about this whole mess. He admitted he was at one of those Hampton parties nearly 20 years ago, but claimed he didn't stay long. To him, leaving quickly was the smartest move, implying he didn't want to be around to see what really went down afterward. Damon has also described Aaliyah as nothing more than a sacrificial lamb, used, discarded, and covered up in a cycle of exploitation. And that description eerily echoed Wright's own claims about Bieber, Usher, and Diddy. Different generations, same machinery, same system grinding forward.
One part, I went to Philly, followed him all in Philly. He threw a party, and he said, "Yo, Playboy, this party costs $1.5 million to throw." I'm like, "You are out of your mind." And I said, "Puff, I'll throw you a party for $400. That will rival this party." And he got pissed at me. He said, "No, don't play with me. You know I am. I'm Diddy." You know what I'm saying? I said, "No, I'm not. I respect you. But in LA, I'm known for throwing like these cool little parties." So he came to LA to my modest little home. He called like Saturday morning. "Yo, Playboy, I'm in town. Make it happen." I said, "Cool." So I went into my little phones, called about 200 of the coolest people. They all came to my house. Puff showed up with, SUVs and FBI. It was just, it was crazy. So he gets out and he comes to my house. And he looked, he said, "Oh, that's the girl on that show, and that's the guy on that show." And I said, "Yeah, we're all friends. We all..."
Wright didn't stop there. She even brought up the infamous elevator incident, reminding everyone that Jay-Z once got beat up by his sister-in-law, Solange, and it was caught on camera. She pointed out how fans just brushed it off and didn't step in, almost as if they didn't care. Her implication, that bizarre family drama wasn't just random, it hinted at bigger cracks within the Carter empire itself. Meanwhile, Jay-Z is still battling shadows of his own. He's tied to old court filings from a woman who once accused both him and Diddy of essaying her after the 2000 MTV Video Music Awards. That lawsuit eventually fell apart due to conflicting evidence, but the cloud around it never fully went away. And now, with every connection to Diddy feeling more and more toxic, those old allegations are back in circulation. His lawyers dismissed it as a blackmail attempt, but the internet isn't letting it die, keeping speculation alive instead of closing the chapter. Wright has been brutally direct, accusing Jay-Z of lighting little fires everywhere and walking away without accountability. She even shared how she once admired Diddy, calling him a mogul she looked up to. She admitted she listened to all the artists he made into stars, and when she got her own chance to sign with him, it felt like she had finally made it big. But now, looking back, she frames it differently, like an illusion built on exploitation and control. Her words tug at threads that run across decades, from the Marcy Projects to the Hamptons, from secret mansion parties to courtroom trials. According to Wright, this empire wasn't built only on beats, business, and branding, but on the calculated destruction of anyone who dared to resist. And once you start imagining who else might be trapped inside that infamous blackmail vault, it's hard not to wonder who's been forced into silence.
So what are your thoughts on all the celebrity friends that denounced those allegations and were like, "This is false," and
liars.
Yeah, should they speak up now?
It's getting a little too late for those who are complicit. Stevie J should be charged. Mary J. Blige should also be charged. Jennifer Lopez should definitely be charged. Jay-Z should be charged. Khaled should be charged. Rick Ross should be charged. Usher should be charged and tried with him. Or for Justin Bieber or more.
She even warned about others still caught up in this, saying people continue to join in those freak-offs with Diddy, but that he's really pissed off. She described sending out a message, telling someone she was about to disappear on them. She made it clear she wouldn't play those games anymore, and her words sounded like a direct threat. If they thought mistreating her would silence her, they were in for a rude awakening, because what she promised to give them in return wasn't more noise, it was silence, the kind that makes everyone nervous. And that brings us back to Jay-Z's silence. For a man who built an empire by speaking truths and turning hustler stories into billions, his refusal to address Diddy's scandal feels less like caution and more like calculation. This is the same Jay-Z who once admitted selling crack as a teen taught him survival and strategy. If he could be that open about his past, why not now? When his old friend faces racketeering charges, freak-off allegations, and whispers of a blackmail vault filled with the industry's biggest names, his silence leaves everyone wondering, is it protection or proof he knows too much?
Black excellence, they're sitting there like, billionaire prospect.
I hate you, man.
Unaware of anything going on here. This is the one time I'm going to be with you this year.
Then came Terrence Howard, reigniting the conversation on the PVD podcast when he recalled an encounter that made him believe Diddy tried to exploit him too. The timeline makes Jay-Z's quiet even more suspicious. For decades, we've seen him and Diddy together, on yachts, at award shows, popping bottles. Their careers rose side by side, their reputations tied by proximity. 50 Cent only added fuel, mocking Jay-Z online and pointing to those old photos as proof of a deeper loyalty. If Jay really wanted to cut ties, he's had years to do it. Instead, the silence only echoes louder, every unanswered question hitting like a beat dropped in an empty studio. And the whispers don't stop at business. Rumors have long swirled about what really happened at Diddy's private gatherings, some described as ritualistic performances. Jaguar Wright fueled these claims, saying nights weren't just about indulgence, but eerie reenactments of tragedy. Allegedly, Aaliyah's name was invoked at parties, masks were passed around, and guests watched twisted dramatizations of her final flight. Others say Left Eye's crash, or even Michael Jackson's last moments were mimicked as part of bizarre ceremonies. Even symbolism in music gets pulled in. Some fans pointed to Jay-Z's video with Nas and DJ Khaled, claiming the checkerboard imagery was tied to occult signs. It all sounds wild until you see the patterns. 3 icons gone on the 25th of different months, all linked to the same circle of collaborators. TikTok poured fuel on it, looping J. Cole's track, She Knows, twisting the title into Sean and Knowles. Millions debated, and suddenly a far-fetched theory started to feel like another puzzle piece hiding in plain sight. What people forget is that these freak-offs weren't random chaos. They ran like a business. Everything was organized. Fleets of private jets for select guests, 5-star hotel suites across LA, Miami, Paris. Even the entertainers were hand-picked and rotated like assets. Behind the velvet ropes, it looked glamorous, but underneath, it resembled a shadow economy, where power was traded through bodies, secrets, and silence. One insider described the setup as Wild King Nights, where Diddy and his guests would head to a hotel or his home, and staff had to prep the room with things like baby oil and Astroglide. This so-called freak-off economy turned into its own underground marketplace. Every bottle, every hotel suite, every private jet ran through channels tied to Diddy's empire. The parties became so frequent and extravagant that they created a whole pipeline of workers, pilots, stylists, security, whose paychecks depended on them. That reliance gave him more than money. It gave him silence and cover.
Me, real rap.
You think that audio that they put out was real?
Yeah, that was real. Nicki put that out there. That Nicki recorded that at the freak off in the Calabasas. She been waiting to drop that shit on me. She just wasn't going to tell nobody it was Diddy. But now that Diddy out there, why not?
The darker part, profits flowed at every level, from luxury brands to record labels to suppliers keeping the machine alive. It wasn't just wild nights, it was structured, monetized, and blurred the line between celebration and exploitation. Prosecutors say this setup looks a lot like racketeering. Seen this way, the freak-offs weren't indulgence, they were financial weapons. With tapes allegedly rolling and debt stacking, stars who owed him both favors and money could be controlled easily. Secrets and cash kept his empire standing, while walking away meant ruin or exposure. One voice even asked bluntly, is he really this gangster behind the scenes? Or is that just the image? And that's the scariest part. If this freak-off economy really existed, it means the scandal seeps beyond closed doors. The music, the tours, even the flashy award shows may have been built on exploitation. If true, Diddy's power wasn't just about hits. It was about building a network where everyone had something to lose, and he was the only one guaranteed to win. Damon Dash once called Aaliyah a sacrificial lamb, taken too soon to protect others while silencing her story. Coming from someone who loved her, those words hit hard. And when Wright described stars being used and discarded in strange rituals, it made people wonder, are the brightest lights only safe until they stop playing along?
When he did the record with him, with Jay, that's why I was that was almost like one of the things where I was just like, he's out here, Jay, I just let it go. Because I couldn't believe he did a project with R. Kelly, knowing that he had raised my girl.
You know, I've known Puff for 30 years. I haven't been to any one of his parties, especially on the LA side, you know, not even in probably 20 years. So that was the 4th of July, and that's when he was with Jennifer Lopez. He had a barbecue. You know, we were all staying in one house, me, Aaliyah, Jay, a couple of friends. That night, no one knew who Aaliyah was with, and that's how we wanted it. You know, because at the time, her and I, you know, we hadn't like actually gone there like that yet, and you know, me and Homeboy was both trying, so no one knew who was messing with who. And you know, that night we left early. I left with Aaliyah, and that's the night that the magic happened with Aaliyah and I. So that was a magical night for me.
Another voice even admitted it seems suspicious when you look back at history, saying some people can make you go away if you talk too much. They confess they've worried about their own safety just for speaking out. The ripple effects stretch far beyond gossip. Cassie Ventura's testimony confirmed blackmail tapes existed, and that fear of exposure was the chain keeping her quiet. Prosecutors claim Diddy ran his empire like a criminal enterprise, built on secrecy, coercion, and intimidation. If that's true, then Wright's talk of vaults, sacrifices, and rituals doesn't sound like fantasy. It sounds way too real.
She also testified that the longest freak-off her and Diddy had lasted 4 days.
Well, I can't imagine having it for 40 minutes. You're talking about 4 days. My man, that's a lot of freaking off. Well, they had tag teams or something?
We've already seen careers destroyed, reputations crash, and lawsuits pile up. So what if the next collapse isn't random at all, but calculated? That's what makes Jay-Z's silence feel haunting. Is he quiet to stay out of it, or because he knows too much? And here's the real question. Could the public forgive a hustler's past, but not complicity in something bigger? If Beyonce and Jay-Z are as tied in as Wright claims, silence might not protect them anymore. It might drag them down too. If Aaliyah's fate was a warning, if Left Eye and Michael Jackson weren't coincidences, then how many more names are already caught in this system, hiding in plain sight? How many stars are smiling on stage while secretly praying their secrets stay buried? So we're left asking, are these just wild conspiracy theories? Or is Jaguar Wright cracking open a vault the industry never wanted us to see? The world is watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, because this